Jeffrey Epstein's list. We've been hearing those three words pretty much nonstop since a judge ordered court documents containing the names of over 200 people to be made public in late December of 2023. But who's on the list and what does it mean to be on it? Well, let's break it down. I have the 900 plus pages of documents right here. So if you want a video breaking down exactly who's on the list and what the documents say about them, drop down below in the comments and let me know. I might just surprise you with a little late Christmas gift. We'll begin with how this list came to exist in the first place. This should be common knowledge to most of my viewers concerning the stir that this news caused when it first broke, but let's do a very quick recap. In 2019, New York federal prosecutors charged Jeffrey Epstein, a millionaire financier, with sex trafficking. While awaiting trial, he ended his life. The justice system then set its sights on Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former girlfriend, for helping recruit his victims. Now, she is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence after being convicted in 2021, but she was also sued by a victim in 2015, which led to the creation of this list of names. So as much as it sounds like this is some super secretive document that was sealed in a bank vault and is full of powerful people who engaged in the kind of crimes Epstein was charged with, that's not what it's like at all. This list is a series of court documents, actually, with the names of over 200 people who were linked to Epstein or Maxwell or who were involved in the 2015 lawsuit against Maxwell. This includes victims and accusers of Epstein, his staff members, witnesses from the trial, people who were mentioned in depositions, and more. So not exactly the burn book that the media is churning it out to be. Yet, there are famous people on this list, including former presidents, plural. But the judge who ordered the records to be unsealed stated that she believed these acquaintances of Epstein's were already well documented elsewhere. The judge also gave the people named on the list 14 days to appeal her decision, but the names were set to start rolling out a few days ago on Wednesday, January 3rd. The first rollout of names included people you've heard of, like Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Stephen Hawking, David Copperfield, and Michael Jackson. You've never heard those names listed together before? Because they never have been listed together before. That's a weird list. Let's talk about the legal side of this, because as I mentioned earlier, these court papers were from the victim's lawsuit against Maxwell in 2015. Her case did not go to trial, but was instead settled. And just to be clear, that means that there's like a 99.9999% chance that the defendants did not admit to any wrongdoing, because they don't like to. But about a 90% chance, 90% of the time, defendants settle because they did in fact commit some wrongs. And the upshot of that is that in a settlement, in almost every single instance, it's a win for the plaintiff in the case. So the victim wins, gets money, and the lawsuit is shut down. Well, with most settlement agreements, there are usually terms that are set for each party besides the money. These are things like non-disparagement agreements, confidentiality clauses, and in this specific case, part of the agreement was the sealing of all court records, which, just to be clear, is not usual. First of all, that's not just an agreement between the parties, but also the judge has to agree. And it's hard to get them to do that, but they did in this particular instance. The judge agreed to seal the records, and that means that no one could get them. But according to AP News, there was an intrepid reporter from the Miami Herald who filed a lawsuit to have the records unsealed, relying on the rules that, except in certain circumstances, court records are open to the public. And God bless the media, because it's members of the media who often file some of the most important lawsuits to enforce the open records and freedom of information laws around the country. Now, in explaining her decision, the judge said that she was releasing the records because much of the information with them was already public. Sidebar, that's a weird reason to release the info. The reason should be instead that there's no basis in any applicable statute or rule to keep the information secret, which I'm sure is the case anyway, or else she would have likely continued to keep the list secret. So again, the judge believes this information is for the most part already public, which leads us to the answers of the biggest questions that everyone has about this list. Will it lead to criminal charges, a civil lawsuit, any litigation whatsoever? Finally, issues for an attorney rather than for TMZ. There will be no new criminal charges stemming from these new revelations. And I know this must come as a shocker because of all the language surrounding this list as being names of like co-conspirators. But that's just not right for a couple of reasons. First, there are no new revelations for law enforcement. They did a thorough investigation already, which resulted in both Epstein and Maxwell being charged. And Maxwell got convicted. So that's as much as you're gonna get out of law enforcement, which should matter to people whose names are on the list because they are not in danger of criminal charges, according to America's attorney. Secondly, as the judge said, most of the info was already out there in the public domain. So what about civil liability? Will there be any new lawsuits? Well, let's look at the potential defendants. Epstein, he's dead too long. Can't sue him, can't sue his estate. Maxwell, not worth suing. She's broke. What about the new people exposed on the list? There's a bunch of problems there. If there were some civil liability relating to the new information, it's likely irrelevant. The victims already know and have known for a long time who assaulted or trafficked them. The list is not new to them, at least as to the people who have grieved them. Moreover, absent some almost unimaginable circumstances, civil liability is going to be extinguished by the passage of the statute of limitations. The release of this list is and always has been about PR, not about legal liability. If someone on this list came to me, I would have told them to get out ahead of the publication of the list. Do some talk shows and some interviews where you say,
I knew Epstein, but I didn't know he was into this stuff. I'm so horrified that he was into this that I've given money to this anti-trafficking foundation because I believe in the work of this entity and I'm disgusted by Epstein and Maxwell.
I would not let my client wait to be identified on the list and then try to backpedal and dig out of it. But listen, I'm not their attorney. I'm your attorney. So as much as the news cycle and social media may tell you that this list is going to expose a multitude of the rich and famous for being horrible people, that's not necessarily the truth. And also, we already know that. It's actually a lot more tame than that. But what do you think about the current online conversation about the list? Do you see it as a sign of wrongdoing for any person to be involved or mentioned during the lawsuit? Drop your pro se opinion down below and let me know what you think about Epstein's list. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button just as hard as this screen is about to hit me. Open record. Because of all the language in